me see. Is Elizabeth, are you on mute,
Hello.
Elizabeth?
Hello, Marie.
Hello. Oh, I can't believe I can see you.
I know.
Oh, big hug, big kiss, darling. Last time we met up when we were chatting was at the gala dinner, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, we've missed so much, but not to help our animals today. And thank you for joining us. And you're joining us another day. I mean, oh, Elizabeth, thank you. Again, hold on tight, everybody. If you've not had the pleasure of listening to Elizabeth Whiter or seeing her, you are in for the biggest treat. Now, I'm going to embarrass you, Elizabeth, by doing your introduction. I can only do this sort of once, really, but Elizabeth Whiter has a complimentary animal clinic. Are you still in Sussex, Elizabeth?
Yeah, and I'm actually teaching the diploma in animal healing today, and I've been able to escape for this hour's workshop, Marie.
Oh, we are much appreciated. Before you started, it's just in 2 years so much can happen. This was a bio, so if it's changed, I'm sure you'll correct when I finish. So Elizabeth is the published author of The Animal Healer and co-author of You Can Heal Your Pet. Now just hold on, I can't see it. I have got that book because Dr. Rahina Satish from America is joining us tomorrow.
Yeah.
And she actually gifted me the book. So we're very honoured that both of you are joining us, and that I can thoroughly recommend that book. It's a wealth of resource. And it was the first ever book written by an animal complementary therapist and Dr. Rahini, a leading vet.
That's correct.
Elizabeth is founder of the Healing Animals Organisation and principal lecturer for the professional one-year diploma in animal healing, equine and practitioner certificate in natural food remedies, sorry, need the coffee, with 500 graduates, that may be more now, including 6 veterinary surgeon graduates. She established her animal training faculty in 2005, where students from all over the world attend practical hands-on modules, working with a range of animals in rescue, rehabilitation, and with private clients. She regularly works with and receives referrals from vets, quite unusual in our world, well, very unusual, doctors, animal rescue centres, and charities from around the world. Elizabeth travels extensively, so much so none of us can keep in touch with her or know where she is, in fact. And let me just see here. Yeah, Elizabeth, I think this is wonderful, collaborated with many rescue centres, including the RSPCA. Huge amounts of animal projects going on. Elizabeth, I say this every time I see you, but the amount of charitable work and events you do, sometimes quite small events, to raise monies, you, my lady, need the hugest amount of applause. Because she consistently is making money all the time for animals. So I'm going to hand over now to Elizabeth Whiter. By the way, I'm sorry I've missed all your titles out because it would take too long to say them. And Elizabeth will be giving us a practical demonstration of making a culinary herb infused in sunflower oil for your animal friends. Eat your heart out, Mary Berry.
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction. So, Marie, can I pin myself, or should I go on to pin?
Yes, you can do, yeah, but yeah.
Can everybody see me okay?
Hands up.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. to this demonstration of making an infused oil. Marie has mentioned that my organisation, the Healing Animals Organisation, we offer diploma courses, professional diploma courses to train in animal healing, and also environmental enrichments for animals. A lot of you may already be involved with rescue, you may be volunteers, you may have animals of your own, and this is a wonderful opportunity to enrich our own animals through using some beautiful culinary techniques that a lot of us have got in our herb gardens at home. And today we are going to be making a herb infused oil, and it's going to be marigold, or called calendula. The Latin name for this is Calendula officinalis. And so I'm going to be taking you through a step-by-step guide how to make your own infused oil. And it's very, very simple. We're also going to be working with today the ingredients for this. Now, excuse my very wilted marigold here. I have to say, everybody, because of the very, very cold weather we've been experiencing here in the United Kingdom, a lot of our beautiful marigolds now aren't even out yet. And the unfortunate thing is that we've had quite a lot of frosts. And so my marigolds are very behind at the moment. And I've just been able to bring along 2 of these to show you what a real marigold looks like. The calendula that we're going to be using is this beautiful calendula here, which is called, as I say, Calendula officinalis. Now, when you are buying your calendula, or you are growing your calendula and you're organising your seeds or what have you, it's really important when you go to the garden centre, everybody, that we ask for Calendula officinalis, because what we don't want is African marigolds or tadgets that look very similar, and sometimes the garden centre will have the name of just calendula, and you'll think that you are going to be working with the right type. So it's extremely important that we work with this beautiful marigold called Calendula officinalis. If anything has officinalis after it, you will find that it has medicinal properties. Okay, so officinalis means that it's been specifically looked at, researched, and medically proven. So we're going to be doing 2 things today. We're actually going to be making the oil, okay, but I'm also going to be taking you through a slideshow, a slideshow. Oh, thank you there, Corinne, my beautiful graduate from Italy, Corinne Saget there, who has just shared with you the correct spelling and what you're looking for with marigolds. Okay, so we're going to be looking at making the practical application first of all, and then I'm going to be taking you through a slideshow presentation, because today is all about practical and how we're going to make things. Now, when we are making an infused oil, let's, for instance, imagine that we have got growing in our garden are marigolds, okay, or calendula. And they come under 2 names, marigold or calendula. And let's just, for instance, say that we are going to actually dry our marigolds. So this will apply to many aerial parts of plants. So when we are working with the Calendula officinalis, so the marigold, we are going to only be using, everybody, the flowers, okay? The aerial parts of the plant, not the leaves, we are going to be using the flower head. And so what we do is, when we pick the flower head from fresh, I'm going to show you dry as well. I'm showing you the whole thing. But if you've got fresh marigold heads, okay, when they are in full bloom, it is really important to pick your flower head. Do not pick it when it's covered over, the petals are covered over. Equally, we do not want to pick when the petals are removing themselves. So what you want to do is just gently check that each of the petals are still intact with the flower, but they are completely in full bloom. Just look at that, everybody. That is in full bloom. Now, when we're going to pick our herbs, we need to pick after midday, okay? And it needs to be a sunny or a very dry day. And we need to make sure that it has been drying for 2, 3, 4, 5 days. We've had quite a bit of rain here this morning. And so I wouldn't pick any herbs that I was going to be infusing unless the actual flowers themselves are completely dry and we've had dry weather. Now you may ask, why are we picking the flowers after midday? Even on a beautiful morning, the sun is shining, everybody, there's a blue sky, there's going to be dew on the herbs that you're going to pick, and everything must be dry. This is why our friends from Australia, Corinne's there. I know I've got a lot of my graduates and students on this workshop today, which is really gorgeous. It's really important that, you know, here in the UK, for people who are here in England or Scotland or Wales, Ireland, our weather is not as lovely as in Australia sometimes at this time of the year. And because of global warming, we are finding that there is a big shift starting to take place. I could spend a whole another hour talking to you about my horses at the moment outside, because their grass isn't growing as much at the moment. You know, they're seeking that warmth from the earth. So a lot of herbs are a little bit behind here in the UK at the moment, but in Italy and the Mediterranean countries and elsewhere where it's much warmer perhaps at the moment, it would be great to pick these. Now, I just want to let people know from abroad that the Calendula officinalis, okay, you can buy this online, and you can grow this anywhere. It is fantastic, okay. It's one of the most versatile herbs that you will find. We can also eat it. Absolutely delicious. And quite often the Calendula officinalis, gorgeous, is put in salads. It's used in fancy restaurants, etc. So I can assure you, anybody here who's thinking, I wonder if I can feed this to my animal. Well, if I can eat it, I never feed an animal anything I can't eat myself in terms of herbage. And this is really important, that if you're up for trying things, anybody, which I am, I always like to taste and feel the textures in my mouth. How is an animal, if they're going to eat this raw, or they're foraging for this, for instance, you know, how does this feel to them? What is the taste like? And it's really interesting when you start to build up taste for various other browse material, etc. Because not only do our dogs and cats like this as an infused oil, but we also have primates, we have horses, and all sorts of other creatures that are really interested in Calendula officinalis. And I'm going to keep talking about the Latin name, everybody, because you could go into your garden centre and say, oh, I really want to get some marigold plants to make Liz's recipe. And if you get the wrong one, it's not going to give the same taste and the same efficacy, and also the compounds that are in here that make this so special. And we're going to talk about that later, about the animals who this can really complement in our holistic well-being of animals. So with this beautiful flower head, okay, I suggest if you are growing from scratch, and you could start now, everybody, you could go and even order some seeds online and get going over the next couple of days with this if you're really interested, because we're so behind in the weather and the warmth that's needed for these guys to really start to bloom. You could start now with your seeds, okay? And in terms of what kind of ground they like, obviously we don't want anything too muddy and clayey, but they do love a mixture of sand and also old kind of any kind of soil. They absolutely work well absolutely anywhere, but you want a nice little bit of compost there. I've got organic manure if anybody's interested, from 2 or 3 years ago from my own horses and their compost that they make. So a little bit of that, a little bit of grit in there, some bit more of sand, so you can really just get a nice light soil going. So once you start to place these out, okay, and allow them to grow, then when we come to harvesting, as I was mentioning earlier, we want a really beautiful full bloom flower, because this is the vital energy. We were talking earlier about the vital energy for our energy healing, and each of our plants has vital energy that it's letting off, and we want to sort of capture that when we are infusing in the oil. So when we're picking these, okay, we've mentioned number one, we want to be after midday. We want to have quite a few days of warmth and dry weather. You're going to just feel the petal to see if it has, it's nice and dry. If it is, you're then going to look at something like this, everybody. Now, I'm very fortunate that, you know, I buy quite a lot of my produce from the farm shop, our local farm shop, and I'm able to pick up these free of charge. Now, what I love about these guys is that when you are picking your fresh herbs, it's really important. It's a real labor of love, everybody, but you're going to place each of the flower heads in this particular aerated carrier. And what you're going to do is place all of the flower heads in here so that they can dry. Now, when we dry our marigolds, you cannot put marigolds on top of each other. And in our slideshow presentation, I'm going to show you that step by step, okay? So when we have our marigolds that have completely dried, so I'm just going to bring that up to the screen, because I was going to be presenting this live, obviously at Manchester to you all. So I'm sort of having to adapt what I'm doing here. But as you can see, this is completely and utterly dry. And this is what we want. When we dry our marigolds, okay, you can place them in the airing cupboard. My husband does get a bit confused when I've got all these plants in there and he's trying to find his pants. Anyway, the marigolds dry, you can dry them in those particular containers stacked up on each other. Now, what is important is you will notice with these is that we are not going to have these directly sat on a table. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, everybody, but I've got a table there, which I'm going to be using in a minute. We would never directly put that there because the underneath can't aerate. And what is important is we would have this tilted, or we would have one of these with nothing in it, so that the air can really dry the plant out, okay? So this flower head must be absolutely bone dry. Now, the problem is if it is not bone dry, okay, and we add oil to it, it could turn out having mildew on the top, and you have wasted all that beautiful marigold. So we need to be looking at drying takes, everybody. If, for instance, we were drying these marigolds, they would take up to between a week and 2 weeks in somewhere nice and dry. Do not leave them outside, okay? The big mistake everybody makes is that they pick their herbs and then they leave them outside, maybe in a shed, the garden shed. Sometimes even conservatories can have condensation. So you need somewhere very dry. And fortunately, I do have not just the airing cupboard, but I have a room dedicated to all of the herbs which they can dry. And there is it's lovely and warm in there, it's dry, and you can see how crispy dry these marigolds have become. All right, so you'll notice that they've gone slightly lighter in color because, as I'm going to show you on the slideshow presentation, because remember, they're not out just yet. We're too early in this country at the moment, unfortunately, due to some of the extreme weather we've been having. But the color of marigold is also bright yellow or light yellow, bright orange. So we've got at least 3 different tones going on, but we can see here how dry this is. Once your marigold is lovely and dry, it is then important to think, how am I going to keep my marigolds safe and dry and not get bleached from the sun? Once they are bone dry, everybody, you are then going to place your marigolds into a paper bag. Now, I can't stress how important this is. Plastic, no way. We don't want even a glass jar like this. We don't even want that, because your beautiful marigold dried petals can last up to 2 years, everybody. If you look after your plants, you can have beautiful dried marigold petals lasting for up to 2 years. Now, if that is exposed to sunlight, you're going to bleach the leaves and also take some of the vital energy out. And so with a paper bag, everybody, okay, so I upcycle a lot of my bags, and I'm sure everybody online here today in terms of housekeeping. So for instance, some bags can be really rather expensive, and here is a little lovely paper bag that had a card in it from the card shop. So it hasn't been adulterated by another smell, because what you do have to be careful about is smells and aromas. And so with the this one, for instance, that had a card in it, I shall snip off the handles, and I keep as many paper bags as I can, because sometimes my herbs that I collect locally, I'm very lucky, I live in the national park here, and I work with over 50 different types of tree browse, herbs and plants for animals. For people who don't know much about my work, I'm working with animals every single day. I have a professional animal practice. We teach the diploma in animal healing and various other courses that are all animal related. And also we travel off to rescue, and I'm in fact at a rescue centre this afternoon. So every day is an animal day. So the paper bag, everybody, okay, we are going to place our herbs So this is a brand new paper bag. No smells of any other. Please don't use other paper bags that you've had perhaps other herbs in there. So chives or wild garlic will contaminate the efficacy of the other herb that you're going to use. So here we go. We're going to put the dried herbs in here. Now I know, because we're in a demonstration here, is that I've got 100 grams, for instance. Don't worry about the paper bag and how much you've got in there, but I just happen to know that when I take note of what's in here. So when you have your paper bag and you're placing your very dried herb in there, it's really important about labeling, okay? Because I have loads of paper bags in my apothecary where I hold all my dried stock. And so I want to be able to get to each of those paper bags. I don't want to keep opening up and reminding myself what's in there. So it's really important to label. Now on the label, sorry, you can't really see that, but there we go. On the label, for instance, the most important thing is we describe what's in there. So I've got written on here dried calendula petals, and I've also got the date that I have harvested and dried them. I've also put on here where I have harvested them from. And of course, sorry, the milkman's just arrived and my dogs are just barking in the background in the next room. So I've got my name on there, and I've got my mobile number, and I've also got where I have harvested them, okay? And I would also place the expiry date on here, okay? So I've got everything on here to let me know about what I've got in this bag. I would even put the Latin name down. I would put Calendula officinalis. Now, sometimes I take a mobile apothecary with me all over the world, and pre-COVID, just before COVID, myself and my graduates, we were in Ecuador working with primates and big cats, and I had a mobile apothecary that I took over to the rescue centre that we worked in the Amazon basin. If you are travelling anywhere, guys, and you are working in rescue or you are working as a volunteer with animals and you are offering enrichments, always make sure everything is labelled up. I can't stress to you how important it is when you leave the rescue centre and you are leaving that product with very clear instructions. Possibly, I know some of you are practitioners in your own right with animals, with other courses that you've done. It is incredibly important that you make the person aware that you are working with at the rescue centre. Obviously, you've sought permission first of all, you've had a signed signature on consultation forms, etc., etc., etc. But it's very important that you label up what it is and who you are. If somebody needs to contact you, if they don't know what to do with it, you've left instructions on there, but people might be a bit wary of using something. So make sure as a professional practitioner, or if you're offering something, that there are very clear instructions to what you are doing. That is a very big tip. I never forget, I go to Borneo every year to work with orangutans and I take my graduates with me. And I never forget, 3 years ago, I made up something very special from the self-selection that you're going to see on Sunday. And I went back the following year. It was still in the fridge a year later in Borneo, and I could have cried because it was fantastic. It was still had the vitality. I felt proud of that, but I didn't feel very happy that this beautiful enrichment could have helped Doris, one of the orangutans that I was working with, as an enrichment, and found that it hadn't been used. And you know, I'm sharing that with you because I understand rescue centres get very busy, and of course I couldn't follow that up as I was so far away. But just be aware that, you know, sometimes something might just get left behind in the fridge or on the side, and it must have an expiry date on it so people know that they cannot use, oh, that's gone out of date. Because it's like when we work with conventional medicine and we're looking at that, and we're looking at the sell by date or the expiry date. So once we've put all of the dried herbs into the bag, okay, we've labeled it up, we know what it is, then we can just maybe put some little bit of sticky tape there, fold it over and over and over, so it is keeping nice and fresh. You're not keeping it open, and don't leave it lying about the house. Have somewhere where you can put in a cupboard. Do not put it in one of those big plastic containers, okay? Everything needs to breathe and have that vital energy. And although you've completely dried these marigolds, they need to be in a very dry and a cupboard or somewhere which is quite dark, so that we're not getting bleached by the sunlight. And certainly don't use something like this. So this looks like a paper bag, everybody, but on the inside, I'm just going to open it, is plastic. Okay, so this is an envelope. It's made of paper, but the inside is actually it's got a plastic lining, and your herbs will sweat. Okay, so got all our herb away. Now, let's say we are going to be now working with making the infused oil. This is what we want to end up with. Okay, now, as you can see, I am using a glass jar, and this glass jar, like this one, okay, we work at the Bat Hospital as part of our healing work, our energy healing work. We work at the Bat Hospital, and Amanda, who runs the Bat Hospital, is also the chairwoman of the Sussex Bee Society. And we get all our beautiful honey from Amanda, and I use honey in enrichments for animals, her honey is absolutely beautiful because her beehives, okay, are so incredible. They have music being played to them. They have medicinal herbs in which they can forage for themselves. That's a whole workshop in itself, with research that we did with Brighton University, with borage, by the way. So any beekeepers on today, okay, medicinal herbs like thyme and stuff like that, bees love it. And they absolutely know the medicinal properties of these herbs because they bring it back into the hive, because the biggest problem that we've seen with bees is the varroa mite, okay? And this helps to self-medicate themselves when they are able to forage and self-medicate for themselves to build up their immune systems. So, coming back to the glass jar. The glass jar here, again, I like to recycle, upcycle, whatever. And so if you've got jam jars at home, everybody, or honey jars or whatever, a clear, lovely jar. What we don't want is jars that have had chutney and things like that in it, because believe it or not, even on a really hot dishwasher, etc., we've still got that aroma permeating the glass. Can you believe it? So we need to make sure that it's completely neutral. We're going to take a glass jar like this with a screw top, everybody. I am not a fan of these for making infused oils, okay? One, we've got rubber, which can get infused into the oil. And I'm not that assured that this is completely airtight. Trust me, from the point of view that I've been making infused oils now for 20+ years, okay? And I just adore them. I just live, sleep and breathe infused oils. I could talk for more than an hour, and I'd be pleased to, about them. But yeah, these, for what we're doing today, I've had moisture and condensation in these in the past, and that has interfered with the efficacy of what we are trying to achieve. So with the glass jar, okay, make sure that you've washed it well if this isn't a new one that you're using, and there are plenty of places, as we know, if you're looking for new jars, everybody, we only have to go to eBay. Absolutely incredible, but make sure it's a screw top. Now, with the actual jar itself, okay, it's important that it is bone dry, and this is where our beautiful ovens come in. So if you are going to be making your infusion, make sure that your oven is on 60 degrees or something, and in the middle of the oven or at the bottom, make sure that you are just drying out even more, even though they might be bone dry already, your glass jars. Also, anything that you're using, so if when we come on to good old Pyrex, your measuring jar, okay, so anything that you're going to use within your infusion that can go in the oven, don't put plastic in there because that will melt, but we need to make sure that everything is super dry and will not contaminate anything. So coming back to a jar here, so into the jar is the marigolds. Now, I'm not going to talk to you about weight. I want you to feel, okay? I'm a feeler, being an energy healer, but it's the feel. So I don't know what size your jar is going to be, but whatever jar you're going to use, okay, I want you to think about filling the jar just over halfway, okay? So do not fill it to the top. If we filled this to the top, by the time we have the oil being poured over, it'll be streaming over, and the oil needs to breathe to really do its magic. And so we want to look at a half-filled jar. So it doesn't matter if you have got a 250 jar, 500 ml jar, perhaps you're making a lot. I prefer to make smaller amounts because sometimes I like to move my jars around, because when we come into the infusion process, because an infusion process takes 2 months, we're talking 8 weeks, everybody, that sometimes I'm very lucky in my sunroom where the sun is able to do its magic, because what we do want is when we put the herb in here, we are then going to add an oil. Now, you might be asking, what oil are we going to use? Well, the workshop today is about sunflower oil. I use sunflower oil for many different reasons, and having produced oils now, herb infused oils, for over 20 years, I've experimented in the kitchen over the years with a variety of different carrier oils. Long and short of it, everybody, through all of my research of treating thousands upon thousands of animals in over 20 years of my clinical practice, is that a lot of these lovely cats, dogs mainly, horses, really, really love the carrier oil of sunflower. Now, we know that sunflower has huge amounts of vitamin E in it. It's a wonderful light oil. What we don't want is to have a really heavy oil that's going to take over the flavor of the herb, especially when we come on to different herbs. And so it's important to have a light flavored oil. Now, I like as well, I also use the very light olive oil. So not the heavy oils that look like a dark green, but sometimes in the supermarkets and also the health food shops, we have got the lighter color olive oils. Okay, and so sunflower oil is great. Now, for some of you that are out at rescue centres and things like that, you've got to think on your feet, because when I work in Cyprus, Portugal, especially Europe, I can go into any supermarket, okay, and I can pick up sunflower oil or what have you, or I can send over the dried herbs to a rescue centre. I can instruct the staff, okay, to go out and get a couple of litres of sunflower oil. It's very accessible, because in my world, working with animals around the world, I've got to find products that are easily accessible for the people that I'm working with when I leave that country, and when you leave that country, when you're volunteering. You need to be able to share your wisdom with those beautiful people that are working in rescue, to allow them to carry on your good work that you're doing, and being able to share with them how they can confidently offer this as an enrichment to animals, because I know a number of you today are already volunteering your services all over the place with animals. It's just fantastic what you're doing, and it's all about sharing. Everything is about sharing the knowledge of what we're doing, especially when it works. And so we're going to put this like this, and I've just noticed that my sunflower oil has just disappeared. So just give me a second, everybody, and on that note, I'm going to bring Claude in anyway. So, here we are. Lovely. Okay. So the sunflower oil is being poured over the dried herb. Now, can you see, everybody, that the herb is rising? Because as we're adding another element, naturally, it's going to rise up. And do you remember what I said to you about not filling it to the top? Now, what I am going to do, if you notice, is I'm taking the oil just to the side of the jar, where it's just going to move up into the screw top. And I'm just leaving, I don't know if you can see that on the Zoom, I'm leaving enough space there for the air to breathe. I'm going to put the lid on, because I can see time is moving on and I've got so much to share with you. Okay, so the lid is on. We're going to agitate it. So when we agitate, we're gently shaking it. Now, let's put a bit of love now, everybody. Everybody's a healer here on Zoom. Let's breathe that love in. I'm a great believer in energy follows thought, creates our actions. So let's put some love into this beautiful marigold stroke calendula infused in sunflower oil. Because that love, everybody, in a bottle is going to be shared with our animal friends. And so I will, when this is done, it's 2 months, I will share with Marie, I'll take a few photographs and share with Marie where this oil has ended up in a rescue centre. So we're agitating the calendula oil, okay? This will go on a window ledge, okay, for 8 weeks. And every so often, 2 or 3 times a week, I will walk past and I will just agitate. Do not start taking the lid off. Make sure that lid is really tight, okay? Don't start going in and looking at it and testing it. Just leave it for at least a month, okay? Then start to examine. You can see the color that is taken on. See the difference there? So what I love about infused oils is that you are working with the whole herb, okay? The whole herb is infused into the oil, which takes on this color. Now, when we have created our oil, we're going to label again. Okay, I haven't labeled this one because I wanted you to see on Zoom what it looks like. And so I have another label all organized, okay? And so, because what you don't want to do, folks, is make up an oil and you don't know what's in there, okay? Or somebody else in the household doesn't know what's in there. You might have children and you want to keep it out of the room and out of their reach, I mean, not out of the room. So somebody's just asking here from my other lovely graduate, Susie Siegel there, is absolutely right. We need it on a windowsill where it will reach the sun, that the sun can come round to it, because the sun is really important here. So try and find a sunny spot. So well done, whoever asked that question, and thank you, Susie, for answering it for me. And so we need to have this on a windowsill where you are going to reach some sun. So that has been macerating, okay, for exactly 8 weeks. And so just look at the color that's taken on. So onto our label, everybody, we have got what it is. So calendula infused in sunflower oil. And we've got the best before date. So we've also got on here when we have actually infused it and when it is going to be ready. So we'll have the infusion date on there. We'll also have the date of when we are going to decant it, because the next stage, conscious of the time here, and I'm sorry if I've been going on, but I just so love to share with you because I want it to be right for you, is the next part is actually decanting it. We're not going to keep the herb in there. So I think I might be a bit strange, but I just love measuring bowls and jugs and things like that. And in charity shops, everybody, there's some cracking stuff out there that you can pick up. My sieves, I must have 100+ sieves. What I love about these types of sieves, just look, it's like muslin. Okay, now you can use muslin, which is brilliant. Okay, but because I'm demonstrating on Zoom and I've got like a little table and everything going on here, I'm just going to show you quickly is that what we want to do is when we decant, I'm just going to speed this up, is that what muslin does, look at that color, everybody. Oh, gorgeous. When we decant, we actually want to, a few times, actually use the sieve to absolutely make sure we have absolutely no petals, any little bits of anything on there. We want it as really, really clear. So I'm just going to speed this up. Look at that, everybody, that color of the infused oil. Well, of course, that's only, I've only done one sieve there. I would do another sieve, or I would use the muslin. Muslin is great. So for my jam makers out there, okay.
Elizabeth, that's your 10-minute reminder.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So it's really important that when we decant and we've got our oil, that there's no petals in there. Next up, how are we going to keep it? So I like to keep my oils in glass jars, okay? And so the brown jars, okay, are really useful because this is now when we need to be able to not have any sunlight on this oil. And the brown bottles are fantastic, or blue or green. So we're going to decant that into here. And we're going to label once again what's in here. And again, we're going to have Calendula officinalis, the Latin name on there. We're going to have on there, for instance, my details are going to be on there. We're going to have on there what is in there, okay, and the best before date. So your infused oils can last for up to 18 months if you look after them, okay. I would say to you to use your infused oils within 8 to 12 months, okay. I'm very proud to say, I would never offer an animal or take an infused oil at 18 months old. I'm just letting you know that some can not get rancid and stay absolutely vital for quite some time. But the big thing is I would put between 8 and 12 months on there. Please use your infused oils as soon as possible. Don't start trying to make loads and just keep them there and think, oh, I can use that in a year's time. Try and make them and then use them. Now, what I would like to now share with you is just before, just have to remove all these things here as it's going to go all over the floor, is I'd just like to share with you a little bit about what I have been explaining to you and the species of animals actually selecting that. So let's go into thumbs up, Marie, can you see that? Yeah, can everybody see the marigold picture? Wonderful. Okay, so as we mentioned, here are the yellow and the orange marigolds. And look how beautiful the vital energy of this beautiful Calendula officinalis. Now, what I'd like you to look at, everybody, is identifying the leaves. So the doctrine of signatures of this beautiful plant has an emotional, mental, and physical attribute. So we can see here the color, and the color is all to do with confidence for animals when we are offering this beautiful Calendula officinalis. And I'd like you to observe, please, the leaves, everybody. If you are at all concerned whether you are buying the right one, please look at the lobes. So the leaves are in the shape of a lobe. Because remember, I told you that the Tajik family and the African marigolds have a very different shaped leaf. And this is important when we are looking. So here we are in my marigold patch. Here are my students. Can you see, everybody, the containers I was mentioning to you? These are the containers that we're going to use for our herbs. And here is the job of taking each flower head, everybody. And with the flower head, you can see each flower head must be able to have aeration from above and below. It's a labor of love, everybody, when we're working with this incredible plant. So we've talked about how to make it. I'm going to just share with you how important this is, the Calendula marigold, Calendula officinalis. It's an anti-inflammatory, most important, it's a nutritive. It increases lymph, it's an antifungal, and it's a liver stimulant. But the big thing, everybody, is the beta carotenes. I have a cancer clinic for dogs, and it is one of my most trusted infused oils that a lot of dogs who have various forms of cancer will self-select, because those beta carotenes that are important, it also contains vitamin A. and it's an excellent general well-being tonic, and it's very gentle. Just to let you know, everybody, that it's calendula is in a lot of women's and men's skincare ranges because it helps with skin problems. When we were looking at it emotionally, it helps animals with self-confidence, anxiety, and self-esteem. But it's rich in antioxidant compounds. This is me in Japan, working with one of my graduates at ARC, which is a wonderful, it's the first rescue center that was set up by Elizabeth Oliver in Japan. And I'm working there with a dog that lost its owner from the tsunami and is self-selecting the marigold oil. Here is two other dogs, companion dogs, who are self-selecting the oil themselves. So you might be asking me, what are we doing with the petals? After we've macerated them, we make them into marigold biscuits, everybody. These are human grade and also animal grade as well. So, you know, when we're looking at making canine treats, it goes down extremely well. And here is another marigold biscuit that I've made. That, as you can see, we're using the orange and the yellow flowers. As Marie mentioned, we work at the RSPCA, and
Elizabeth, this
here
is
we are
your
in
1
Cattery.
minute reminder. Your 1 minute reminder.
Okay, thank you. This is us working in the cattery, and we can see here that the cats are self-selecting the calendula infused oil. Here we are in Cyprus, working with, we work with 5 or 6 different animal shelters in Cyprus, and one of my graduates there offering some beautiful marigold infused oil. So this is always seen as a supplement, everybody. This is a beautiful enrichment, a treat. This is working at Animal Care Egypt at the Equine Hospital. Sadly, since the plane was blown up, we've been unable to get there, and hopefully as we come out of COVID, we will be back. We go every single year to Animal Care Egypt. And this is a horse, and we can see they're self-selecting the marigold infused oil. And here is a ferret, everybody. So we have a ferret. We work with all sorts of animals. And so a beautiful ferret here, self-selecting some of the marigold infused oil, and a lovely cat, as we can see on the right-hand side, licking off one of the students' fingers. Finally, goats. Goats and chickens, everybody, love marigolds, love pecking at them and eating them, and so do some guinea pigs. So I'm just going to stop sharing there. So just finally, let me just bring Claude in for you. I'm dying for you to meet Claude from Cyprus. Claude. Come on, Claude. Come and meet everybody. So this is lovely Claude, everybody. And I've just got a little bit of infused oil. Not happy about drinking it today. Would you like some, Tommy? I'm going to put him on the floor, everybody. I think he's a bit nervous being on my lap. go. There is Claude. So everything, everybody, is on a self-selection basis. You never put the infused oils in food because you want to observe your animal leading. I'll just
Elizabeth, Elizabeth. You gone?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, hi, darling. I am so sorry we're running quite over now. But I mean, I feel like I've been, for anybody in UK, and I watch the UK TV, I feel like I've been on a Monty Don programme and a Mary Berry cookery. I just love it. You've just taken us on a whirlwind tour of, you know, and I'm going to live in those beehives that you mentioned, definitely. And
So
I think
a very interesting point from Jane Jeffrey, Marie.
yeah.
I really must just talk about the contraindications.
Yeah.
And Jane is absolutely right there, is the fact that if your dog or your animal suffer from any form of pancreatitis, you are not going to offer infused oils, and that is really important. I could talk forever, Marie, about infused oils, but just to say, I mean, lick the plate clean, everybody. But it's a fantastic enrichment. As I say, I've been working with infused oils for over 20 years, Marie, with cats, dogs, horses, and on a self-selection basis only as a professional zoo pharmacognosist. It's really important that. But I'm also really, really keen to share with everybody how important the infused oils are, and little amounts, very little amounts, just a little teaspoon.
Okay, somebody asked that, Julie Clazy asked that actually. I was just going to mention it. So yeah, okay.
Because I can't actually see some of the messages because I'm teaching and sharing. It's really great. Lovely.
Okay.
I love that. Charlotte Leach, great talk, Liz. My dogs at the rescue centre love your oils. Thanks, Liz. Great to see you, and Claude from Deborah. Really lovely. You know, a lot of rescue centres all over the world really appreciate them because it is very difficult for them to get beyond feeding dried food. For all sorts of reasons, no judgment, Marie, here now. But, you know, animals need enrichment, and sometimes those herbs and plants are really important for that. Thank you, Caroline Thomas. Thank you. Lovely, Jane.
Elizabeth, we just honestly can't thank you enough. And I mean, to say that you're actually teaching today, you've taken time out of your busy schedule. We'll be seeing you again Sunday. Is just absolutely, your instructions are so clear. I think everybody will be rushing off to the garden centres now for calendula officinalis. Sales will be booming, definitely.
Just to let you know, Marie, that in You Can Heal Your Pet, all of my recipes are in there, from all of the biscuits.
Oh, you can't see it because of the Zoom share, the green screen, but honestly, I just can't recommend this book. I was given this by Rahina in 2015, and it's just a wealth of information, absolute wealth.
So
you know,
Marie,
it's my go-to. You can see how well worn it is. It's just my go-to guide. So I'd thoroughly recommend that. And you'll see Rahini tomorrow, and same thing again. It's just an amazing book from each side, from the veterinary perspective and the holistic side.
Thanks
so Elizabeth,
so much,
I can't give you a hug and you've given us so much information. So you just remind me, are you around in the breakout rooms or not?
I'm afraid to say, darling, I'm not, because
No,
I've got to prepare to go to the. I'm going to be treating alpacas now, ravens, crows, chipmunks, guinea pigs, and everything.
As you do.
As we do.
Can you feel this big virtual hug and a clap from all of us?
A couple of, I will do, Susie. I will say hello to Lindsay. Marie, just a couple of people were asking about the dried herbs. Just to let you know, on the information that we sent you, everybody, we gave you the Organic Herb Company, Baldwin's, etc., where you can buy your dried marigolds, and they've got them in now for you. Okay, so if you want to bypass the step of making your own, the dried petals, they're organic. Okay, I only use organic material. And so it's really important that if you want to click on that link that's within the section about us and this workshop, Marie has put the link there where you can buy
all the links there.
Lovely.
The recommended places to buy them from that you recommended, Liz, definitely.
Lovely.
Okay, so big hug again. Thank you, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It's been such a joy to see you, and love you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your lovely time with Marie. We can't thank you enough, Marie, for putting this on for everybody.
Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you. Bye-bye.